Hey all. So, bit of a longer one today. This is our war against the new Jedi Assassins Alliance, the merger of parts of Kenobi and ASR. We know that they're not going to die very much, so we need to be on our best behavior. It was lining up for me to just take a bunch of fights this war, so I have 8, which is quite high for our battle group. We tend to be fairly equitable. And so right away it occurred to me that after last war being fairly cheap in terms of loyalty items, this one was likely to look a bit different. So we start out with this Mephisto on Kinetic Transference and Power Bond. Not really worried about any aspect of this fight. We don't have Mystic Dispersion to worry about because we're using the Defiance tactic, so Reed can't gain buffs. We're going to heavily blunt Kinetic Transference because we start with that Petrify. He is going to gain his Aura of Incineration at times. We're going to wait it out, but we're going to have plenty of time to refresh our debuffs with the heavies. That's why we're using the regen boost to just regen the chip damage from the aura. And then we're also relying on Reed's energy resistance to blunt it further. That extra power gain means that we ramp very quickly. You see, we already have the Careful Study passive, and we've already almost entirely turned off Kinetic Transference. He's barely gaining any power from us hitting him because we have the 2 suppressions up. And this fight is already almost over. We basically turned off his healing entirely. Actually, I think we did turn off his healing entirely between the 80% Petrify and the other 4 buffs because I always run Max Despair. Really, really simple fight. Ending at 99% against a Mephisto with somebody who is not Incinerate immune is a good time. So then we move on to this next one. This is Hulkbuster on Vivified. Definitely could have taken this with Corvus and charged one up, but there was another spot on the map where we could pick up 2 Corvus charges, and that was really all we needed. So we didn't need to also send somebody over here to charge up a second one. Just using the debuff siphoner here because Petrify is not going to matter. We're going to turn off his regen anyway, and suppression just doesn't make a difference against Vivified. It does work, but then you're looking at 175% extra combat power instead of 200%. So it's not worth the pre-fight. Go ahead and take this with Tigra. I'm not using a power start or anything like that. We're just leaving the regen on. And as I've mentioned before with her, it's because I actually don't think the power start helps her that much. Because yeah, you get to your special 2 faster, but you end up throwing your special 2 with fewer ruptures on the opponent. And so you actually end up doing less damage with your special 2. The exception to that, of course, is a fight like Hazard Shift, where you absolutely have to end it as quickly as possible. But notice that this is not that heavily boosted, no recoil tree masteries, no power start, and we just throw a couple heavies, throw our special 2, and it ends the fight instantly. No reason to boost on that when it works that well without it. And when I say no need to boost, I mean no need to power boost. Obviously, you boost for war at this level. So reused the red and orange boost, the attack and health, still have the green one going. I don't use those often, but for big wars like these, they are a very good investment. I have taken this Doom many, many times. Rank 4, rank 3, doesn't matter. Extremely safe fight with Reed, even before Defiance, unless the game decides to not let you block. So that was unpleasant. That was what, 6 hits? Whatever. Reed has high resistances. It hurt, but it's not the end of the world. And now we're back into ramping. So unlike before Defiance, we don't have to worry about the auto shock from him nullifying, which was never a huge issue. We just stayed away from him while it was on. But now it doesn't even apply at all. And so we can dex with absolute impunity on this fight. We don't need to worry about any power gain from Power Snack before we're fully ramped. We don't need to worry about the shock. It's just bait out his specials, get to your special twos. We are now fully ramped. Like, he's going to throw another special one eventually, and that's going to turn on the Careful Study passive, and then we are going to, head straight to our special 3 for the Big Fury. But at this point, we have this so under control, especially because we're immune to Power Snack. We have a very high evade chance. Like, I would have to eat multiple full combos at this point to lose. And the only way that's going to happen is if somehow I don't evade any of those combos with this high evade chance. So, very annoying to get hit at the beginning of this, because on a boosted rank 4, like, that's expensive. That's a good 30,000 loyalty right there from hits that I really don't think I should have taken. Now, some of it I would have lost anyways to block damage, so maybe we just call it 20,000 loyalty to BS. And that's not the worst thing in the world. As I'm tracking my loyalty this season, I am trying to keep a record of when I feel like the damage is due to input issues, because that is damage that compensation can fully account for. Because then when we lose the compensation, theoretically, I'm not going to get randomly clipped when I'm sure I was blocking, and I don't mind losing those items. But regular chip damage, me just messing up periodically, that stuff matters. And so I'm trying to keep a distinction to really make sure that data's on point. So I took this exact Mixmaster Ebony Maw with Killmonger in the off-season, thanks to Defiance just completely removing his ability to nullify and making Mystic Dispersion a non-issue. And I took it unboosted because off-season, and without ever trying to knock him down with a heavy. So this fight should go better, because now I've made sure to test the spacing on throwing a heavy after his special 1, which is extremely reliable, and after his own heavy, which is fine as long as you have the spacing. In my testing, I found if you parry his first medium and he immediately throws the heavy, then your heavy will make contact. Otherwise, I don't recommend bothering with it, because trying to close the difference against Ebony Maw with a light attack is asking to get hit in the face, and thus to get power stolen and degened. So don't do that. Now, right there, I got thrown off my rhythm because I was not ready for Counterpunch to allow me to back up as I was going for a heavy counter. It just wasn't something that I had adequately practiced. I find it very difficult to duel Ebony Maw because, if you have a low enough PI that the fight actually lasts for a while, then the first time he degens you, you die. If you have a high enough PI that you survive the degen, you usually kill him too quickly. And so I was a little bit worried that relative to the way I normally try and duel, there would be some things in this fight that I wasn't ready for. And so that did happen, including right there. That was just a mistake. I released the heavy too early, got smacked by the last hit of the special 1. Not a big deal because, that's why we use the Indestructible boost. But that counterpunch thing really threw off my rhythm. And basically every other piece of this fight that feels weird is me recovering from that loss of rhythm. So I'll be sure to practice that for next time specifically. As you can see, not the worst thing in the world. I end at 99% health. And it takes about 2 minutes for a boss where we really did slow play it to be careful. I will take that any day of the week. I really do think he's one of the best counters there this season. But, we know what we need to improve on for next time, just to make it that much more under control. Moving on to the Spite node here. This is on path 7 in section 2. Terrax is an interesting placement here. Spider-Man 2099 would be fine for this, would take some damage. There are a ton of options you can use here. But Reed with Defiance doesn't have to worry about Spite, and so this is basically a vanilla Terrax with Rise to Power, which means that after we knock him down, If he hits us, he gains a little bit of power. That's it. And we're going to be blunting it with our Petrify, and as we ramp, we're going to be turning it off and even reversing it. So then it's just Terrax, who does energy damage if you let him get too close to you for too long, but he also inflicts armor breaks that you can heal from, and Reed will blunt the energy damage because he has that significant energy resistance. So I go ahead and throw the heavy here. I know that it's going to trigger Rise to Power, but I just wanted to make sure that I had those debuffs refreshed and paused rather than going straight for the Special 2, just in case I was wrong. Like, I'm pretty sure the full Special 2 animation would have landed in time and refreshed both sets. Just wasn't risking it, right? So you see how little damage we took from that rock field, and now we're healing from those long armor breaks. And now we're fully ramped. So this time when we knock him down and activate Rise to Power, he's going to come in, he's going to hit our block, and it actually power drains him. Because that's the other thing. Terrax is immune to power control from metal champions. Reed is not metal. And so we are already down to 20%, and he's only thrown one special, which you can easily tell from the fact that he only has one Careful Study debuff on him. And then we close the fight out with a special 1 to get our extra charges, and that's it. So it's hard to imagine a better counter for that fight, in my opinion. That was just super smooth. Now we have this Hitmonkey. Not going to use Reed for this, because Hitmonkey purifies debuffs, and it's just... If we had a House of X, maybe, but it's just unnecessary, right? Killmonger is better for this. He has that high crit resistance to deal with if something goes wrong. He has the Indestructible charges, again, to deal with if something goes wrong. He has Counterpunch, so he doesn't necessarily have to worry about Hitmonkey's purification. And crucially, he has easy access to True Strike, so that we can make sure we keep landing hits, we don't have to worry about the evade. Now, getting True Strike on Hitmonkey's Special 1 is something I practiced a fair bit because there is a bit of a window. You kind of have to evade the second hit earlier than you think you do for it to trigger True Strike, because it's easy to punish, but there's a tight window where you punish it such that you actually get True Strike. So if you plan on taking this fight yourself, then duel for that specifically. He goes unblockable there, not fun, but again, the evade we don't have to worry about, and the purify just gets rid of a bleed. Not a problem at all. So he's half down. We go ahead and punish here, get the True Strike again. We have the Indestructible, we have a safety net, but at this point, he just kind of stops throwing specials, and I go, oh, this is lovely, I'm backed up. So I guess I'm just going to push him to a Special 2. I'm not the worst at this evade, but you see that I am taking a little bit extra. I have now lost my Indestructibles, so I get them back here. He's down to 23%. It's not the end of the world. You know, I'm just going to hit him again. I got True Strike. I go ahead, block that. I thought that I might have gotten Reverb back. Oh well, it's fine. Aspect of Evolution is starting to be a bit of a problem with the power rate. I throw this on the off chance that it would crit. Aspect of Evolution means it doesn't. If it had, the fight would be over. Instead, we're just going to go for the Special 2 evade again, and there we run into a problem. Because I actually had not practiced making sure the Special 2 evade was exactly on point. I didn't think it was going to get to that. That's my mistake. Should have done more for that. Luckily, even if all 3 hits of that Special 1 had crit, I did the math, I checked the base damage. The last 2 shots of the Special 1 have the same base damage, so a crit on that would have just been another 10,000 damage. Killmonger had plenty of health left. His crit resistance came into play, but you didn't have to rely on it. That exact mistake without crit resistance, he still would have survived. So I do think that's a safe counter, but if you end up taking that yourself, and you can't manage to keep pre-fights from Reed up for the fight, which would have been nice if I hadn't had to bait him and I'd been able to do that, just make sure you have the Special 2 evade better than I did. Ideally, you block fewer hits of it for less kinetic transference, and you really want to make sure you don't get parried after it. Maybe just don't punish it, because you don't need to. So now we take this Angela. Again, we have kinetic transference, but Reed is going to blunt it. And we basically have to worry about the timer giving her armor, and when she throws specials, she will drop down below a bar of power and therefore gain armor again. So that's what we're watching. We know that with all of that, especially after the Warlock fight I took in off-season that didn't go very well with Odin, I'm expecting I probably will get backed up. I am probably going to need to do some heavy counters. But that's okay. Angela gets very close with her heavy counters, and Reed is best at throwing his heavies and landing them when he's against the wall. We now have a special 2-up. We've basically completely turned off kinetic transference. It's down to only 20% of what it would like to be. And here we go. There's the first heavy counter. Even though she backs us up, she throws the heavy, and we keep our debuffs. That's what matters. She goes unstoppable, therefore stun immune. We do it again. But now we're getting close to our second L2, and now we're fully ramped. And the thing is, we actually have to be careful here. Because if we take her above a bar of power and then block a hit, it will power drain her. See right there? And so she could go unstoppable if we had her at over a bar and then blocked a hit and it took her just under a bar. So I knew that was a potential. I was watching for it. Thanks to Slaymon, actually, for pointing that out. The specific way he phrased it helped me remember that was a possibility. Didn't end up coming into play. Reed was really, really good for that. And that wasn't even Defiance. That was just the way that Reed controls the fight. Also reverse the healing as well as the power. Very nice. So now we have Tigra, and these are actually the first class boosts that I've used all season. Because we really want to get this fight over with quickly. Like, it's not the end of the world. The other Super Skrulls I've taken with Tigra have been much more dangerous because they've been stun immune. And that means that if he gets his falter up, and he is not about to throw a special one, you have fewer ways to defuse it safely. Because the one thing you can't do in this fight is hit into his block, because that can cause an armor if your neutralize isn't up, which it probably isn't if you're hitting into his block, and that's where bad things happen. But short of that, we're just throwing our heavy counters and trying to get ruptures up, get to 2 bars of power, boom, that gives us some power back. See right here, he goes ahead, he throws the falter, or he has the falter, but we parry to get it off. That's all we need. And then I step back into this special one because I know it's going to do enough damage. It's going to reactivate the Primal Sense, which is the damage one, and we're good to go. So, second war down, 8 fights, no deaths. Really enjoying this team. Tigra, Killmonger, Reed feels like something I could end up bringing quite a bit this season. We did end up losing this one 6-3. 6 deaths is not our worst. That's actually pretty much in line with our goal. And that will win a lot of wars in Tier 1 at this point. It also is not good enough to beat 3, which is obviously an excellent score. I feel like we are still shaking off a little bit of rust. We had 1 bug death, but, you know, not 3 or 4. So it is what it is. We'll just keep cleaning. I'm sure it's going to be a difficult start to the season, honestly, because our war rating is sky high after last season coming in 3rd. We're just probably going to be taking on all of the most difficult alliances for a little bit, and so we have to keep tightening up. We can beat anyone, just need to do a little bit better than today. But, you know, onward and upward. Hope everyone else's seasons are going well thus far. And until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.